The swastika. The swastika was not a decorative emblem. It was the foundation of Nazi propaganda. Printed on every flag, uniform, coin, and textbook, it acted as a unifying insignia that mobilized mass loyalty to Hitler's dictatorship. After 1945, Allied authorities banned it under denazification laws because it was proven to function as an organizational tool for fascist networks. Modern Germany enforces the ban under Penal Code Section 86A, defining it as propaganda of an outlawed movement. The reason is precise. The swastika is banned because it served as the visual infrastructure of genocide, war crimes, and state terror. Its public display is treated as an attempt to revive that system. It remains the most aggressively prosecuted of all Nazi symbols, with confiscations and arrests tied to its use. Courts have ruled repeatedly that its display, even without words, is enough to constitute political propaganda. Outside Germany, it is still used by extremists who frame it as rebellion, but governments track it as a global hate emblem. The symbol's original ancient meaning in Asia has been permanently contaminated in the West by its Nazi adaptation, the Nazi eagle. The Nazis fused a spread-winged eagle with a swastika inside a wreath, reviving Rome's imperial bird to project power and legitimacy. By 1935, it became the Reich's official emblem, stamped on passports, courtrooms, decrees, coins, and military standards. It was the legal seal of dictatorship, branding every law with Hitler's authority. After 1945, the design was banned because it symbolized the sovereignty of a regime guilty of genocide and aggressive war. West Germany was forced to redesign its national eagle in 1950 to separate itself from the Nazi version. German courts later ruled that the eagle and swastika is legally identical to the swastika, making its display a criminal act. Today it is prosecuted as state propaganda of a system convicted at Nuremberg. Internationally, its reproduction is monitored as a clear revival of fascist authority. The Nazi eagle endures only as evidence of a symbol stripped of all legitimacy and permanently bound to dictatorship, the SS lightning bolts. The SS used twin lightning bolts as its insignia. The design came from the ancient Sowilo rune, once a symbol of the sun. In 1933, SS officer Walter Heck doubled it and redefined it as a call for victory, victory. From that point, the runes marked Hitler's most feared organization. They were stamped on black uniforms, helmets, vehicles, and concentration camp gates, branding the units that carried out mass shootings and deportations. At Nuremberg, the SS was declared a criminal organization responsible for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Its symbol was banned with it. German law still prosecutes the display of the lightning bolts as Nazi propaganda, treating them the same as the swastika. The runes remain outlawed as the visual signature of a paramilitary force convicted of genocide, the death's head skull. The Totenkopf showed a skull with crossed bones, first worn by Prussian hussars in the 1700s as a mark of contempt for death. It passed into German regiments during the First World War. The Nazis appropriated it for the SS, fixing it to black caps and uniforms of the Totenkopfverbände. These death's head units controlled the concentration camps and became synonymous with executions and mass extermination. After 1945, the skull was outlawed because it marked the SS guards who operated the camp system. At Nuremberg, the SS was judged a criminal organization, and Totenkopf was treated in law as part of that conviction. German law prosecutes it as propaganda of an outlawed regime, the Wolfsangel Hook. The Wolfsangel was a jagged hook first carved into boundary stones and town seals in medieval Germany. It was linked to wolf traps and later used as a mark of vigilance and resistance during uprisings and wars. The Nazis appropriated it, assigning it to Waffen-SS divisions and party militias. On the Eastern Front, it became tied to units that carried out reprisals and mass killings. After 1945, its earlier meaning collapsed. German courts judged the Wolf's Angel to be a political identifier of National Socialism and outlawed it under Section 86A of the Penal Code. It is still criminalized today as propaganda of an unconstitutional organization and tracked internationally as a coded marker of neo-Nazi groups. The rune system. The SS turned old runes into a working language of power. They appeared on flags, uniforms, and paperwork as a coded map of functions and loyalty. The Odal rune marked ideas of heritage and land and was worn by SS field units like the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division. The I rune identified Hitler's personal adjutants, including Rudolf Hess, fixing the letter as an insider signal around the Führer's office. The Hegel rune denoted unshakable faith and appeared on the SS honor ring that Himmler awarded to senior officers, turning belief into a wearable pledge. The life rune fronted Lebensborn paperwork and family programs, while its inverted death form replaced the Christian cross on documents and grave markers. The Tier rune, tied to war and command, was issued to SS leadership schools to brand training and discipline as a sacred duty. These were not ornaments, they were internal identifiers of SS offices, schools, and programs, a bureaucracy written in symbols rather than titles. In post-war Germany, that code is treated as the SS's own insignia, not folklore, and its political use is prosecuted as an extremist identifier, the Iron Cross. The Iron Cross began as a Prussian military decoration in 1813 and carried into the German Empire and World War I as a symbol of valor. The Nazis retained it but redesigned it with a swastika at the center, turning a decoration into a mark of loyalty to the regime. That version was abolished with Germany's surrender, its swastika variant outlawed as Nazi propaganda. The plain Iron Cross, without the swastika, later returned to the modern German army, but the Nazi form remains criminalized and tracked as an extremist adaptation. Outside Germany, the symbol was later adopted by outlaw biker gangs and skinhead groups, adding to its association with defiance and extremism. Its Nazi-era design is permanently discredited as the state-issued decoration of a criminal regime, the Celtic Cross. The Celtic Cross, a circle intersecting a cross, is an ancient Christian and cultural symbol used across Europe for centuries. In the 20th century, neo-Nazi groups redefined the squared version as a substitute for the swastika, promoting it as a white power emblem. It was printed on banners, pamphlets, and tattoos as a signal of racial ideology. In Germany, courts classified this variant as extremist propaganda, banning it under laws against unconstitutional symbols. The original religious cross remains legal, but its squared Nazi form is criminalized and monitored as a coded hate sign. Outside Germany, it became one of the most visible international hate emblems, adopted by groups from the US to Eastern Europe. Authorities treat its political use as an unmistakable signal of racial extremism. The Black Sun. The Black Sun is a ring of 12 sig runes set in a wheel, embedded by Himmler in the SS castle at Wewelsburg. It was part of the occult culture he tried to impose on his officer corps. After the war, it resurfaced among neo-Nazi groups as a surrogate swastika, carried on flags, tattoos, and digital propaganda. In Germany, it is not automatically banned, but courts prosecute it when tied to extremist activity. Security agencies monitor it internationally as one of the most common coded Nazi signs, stripped of any claim to heritage. Its design has become a centerpiece of neo-Nazi mysticism, pushed in literature and music scenes to romanticize fascism. For investigators, it signals not only political extremism, but also the cult-driven branch of modern far-right ideology. Final verdict. Nazi symbols were not random designs. They were engineered as tools of propaganda, loyalty, and state control. Some, like the swastika and eagle, were outlawed immediately after the regime fell. Others, such as the Wolfsangel, runes, and Black Sun, were criminalized later as extremist groups tried to revive them. In Germany and Austria, their display is prosecuted for use of unconstitutional symbols, with exceptions only for education, art, or scholarship. Outside Europe, laws differ, but police agencies still catalog them as extremist identifiers. Each remains permanently tied to the crimes of a regime judged at Nuremberg as criminal in its entirety. Their meaning cannot be reclaimed as cultural heritage. Their use in politics is treated as a direct attempt to restore fascist ideology. In every form, they survive only as markers of a system condemned for genocide and war. To know each type of war, click to watch our next video, Every Type of War Explained.